Hello and welcome to part 8 of our embroidery slow stitching journal stitch along, where I am teaching you embroidery stitches, a total of 28 in all, and also how to put together your own slow stitching journal. Hi, this is Captain Stitches and I'm Jean. So this afternoon, I didn't understand that. Sorry about that. Phone decided to kick in there. But this afternoon, I will be teaching you an additional 4 embroidery stitches. And that's all that we will be doing during this video this afternoon. And those stitches are going to be the feather stitch, the fern stitch, the pistil stitch, and the spider web rose. And those will be found in your hand embroidery stitches at a glance handbook. For those of you that are using this book, this is the one that we are using, and you can follow along in. You can use any embroidery stitch book that you have, but this is the one I will reference to for the page numbers that you will find the stitches that we are learning. So, and before we get started on that, I just want to go over some additional information. Next week, we will learn the last 3 embroidery stitches in our series. So you will have all 28 completed by the end of next week. And in the meantime, please continue working on your slow stitching pages and join in on our Zoom stitch days, which are on Thursdays from 3 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Saturday afternoons from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And those are for members of our private Facebook group, which is Captain Stitches and Friends. And you can always find the link for that in the description box below. So you can, if you are not already a member of that Facebook group, you can request to join. Just be sure that you do answer the questions, or your request to join will be denied, and you will have to resubmit that answering the questions. So that is important. So thank you, everyone, for joining me this afternoon. And we will get started on learning our stitches for this week. So let me switch over to our overhead camera. There we are. And we're going to scoot this over. We're going to be learning the feather stitch first. And it is, where did my needle go? It's over here. Flipped over. Sorry. Get that grabbed here. It is found on page, let me see. Feather stitch is found on page 24 in the handbook. And you will see that I already have this line done and part of this line done. So we will be using the middle section here for me to teach you. And it is done over 4 lines. Now you don't always have the lines drawn on whatever you are stitching on. Most of the time you won't. You have to imagine that they are there. But for your learning and teaching purposes, we do have that on our grid work that we are working on. So feather stitch is a fun stitch. It is one that comes in very useful. And we are going to start by coming up on that first line, and we're going to refer to that as A. And we are going to come up right at the top. See my needle moving there? Right there. Right at the top. And bring our thread all the way through. And then we are going to keep our thread at the bottom of our needle. And we are going to skip the next line and go over to the next one straight across from where our other one is. That is going to be B. And then on that middle one that we skipped, we're going to come down a ways usually about a quarter of an inch. I'm on a bigger grid working for you to be able to see, but you can see where I have kept my thread down. We've come and gone down at C here, and now we're coming at B, sorry, and we're coming up at C right in the middle, and we're going to keep that thread at the bottom underneath our needle and pull that all the way through until we have the little loop like this. And then we are going to go over, we are going to skip the next line, and we are going to go across again and go over to our next line straight across horizontally. I'm sorry, there is a bug that is flying around in my face. We're going to go straight across from where we came up here. And again, we are going to go down in the line that we stitched. It's always going at the diagonal and keeping the thread below. Excuse me. And pulling that through, and we have our next stitch. So now we are going to go over. This time we're going to skip this one again, and we're going to go back over to where we started, below it. And we want to keep that straight across from where our other one is in the middle there. So we're going back through, and now we are just going to repeat that process all over again. So we're going all the way down. Oops. Now that's not right, is it? That is not right because I didn't keep it below my needle there. You need to come up at your other one and keep that thread below your needle. Don't pull that straight over. And you are pulling it through. It's already connected here, so it's kind of just one less. What am I stuck on back here? Okay, there. Now we're all the way through. You can see how that is done. So it's just one less little stitch there because we already had it connected to the one there. So now we're coming back over here, skipping that one in the middle again, going down, coming up at an angle at the one that we skipped, trying to be consistent in the length of our stitches and catching that. And now we are going to go over, and this time we are going to remember to keep our thread below, and we're just going to take that a ways and go ahead and put our needle on that middle line that we skipped. And we need to come down just a little bit more than that so we can pull it through. Keep getting, it's my extra thread there that I keep getting caught on the back. Okay, and that is the feather stitch. So you just keep continuing, going back and forth, alternating, and you're always, as you can see, going straight across from where that middle is on the other one to start your next one. Coming down at that angle, in the middle there where we skipped, keeping your thread below and underneath your needle. That all the way through. And then we're going to go over to the other side. Skipping that one again. And I could do that in one swoop, but if I did that, then my arm's going to be in your way. So I'm just making it in the two steps there instead of swooping under with my needle. But see, it's a fun stitch once you get the rhythm of how it's made going. Scoot that up a little bit more. Going on that middle. Keeping the thread below. And now we're going to go over here. And what I mean by I would just swoop, I would just take my hand. And that's why I say it would be in your way. I would catch that diagonally in one swoop, the same as we're doing on the other, and come up and keep my thread below. But my hand kind of gets in your way doing it that way. So I just go under and stab it from underneath instead. And I'm just going to continue on and finish this line. This is a great border edging stitch on my fingernail. Very, very fun decorative stitch. Keep my hand out of your way. Sorry. So I'm just pulling that away and doing the stitch and stab method instead there, so my hand doesn't get in your way. Coming straight across from our center part of our previous stitch. We know where to start our next one. And just trying to keep consistent in the length of our stitch. Just remember to always keep that thread on the bottom and underneath your stitch. That's what's catching and making your little loop. And I need to go down just a little bit more. All right, I had to scratch my nose. How are you all doing on your stitches? Are you caught? Came up in the wrong place. I'm just going to take my needle back through there. Forgot to go down. Okay, there we go. But I was going to ask, how are you all doing on your stitches? Are you caught up? Are you enjoying working on your page layouts and getting those all basted down and starting the decorative embroidery stitching on them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know how you're doing. And remember, you can always post photos of your work and share that in the Facebook group as well. Love to see everyone's work. And to finish that off, I will just anchor that last one. And there we have a whole line of the feather stitch. And hold that up a little so you can see that closer. But that is a very, very fun stitch to do. Looks a little harder than what it really is. Just have to keep your concentration when you're doing it. If you need to mark the registration marks, you can always use one of the disappearing ink pens or pencils. I'm looking for my scissors. There they are. Until you get used to being able to kind of just freehand that. So we have the feather stitch complete, and I'm going to set this needle aside. I do have another one. Already threaded. And now we are going to go on to the fern stitch. And the fern stitch is found on page, let me see, 26 in your handbook. And it's very similar to the feather stitch, except it's not working over, it's just working down one line. You could have reference lines there, but I just used little dots on the side of mine for that instead of drawing the lines. But it is one that you do. It's actually takes a little bit more thinking, even though it looks simpler than the feather stitch. It takes a little bit more thinking and concentrating, I find anyway, than what the feather stitch does. But we are going to start right on the top of our line again. We're going to come up from underneath. And we are going to start by making a straight line, the length that we want it to be. Right about there. And that is going to be our B. And then we are going to swing up and over diagonally to the side. And this is going to be first part of our fern stitch. We're going to go right back down in the same hole that we ended on the bottom there. Are going to keep our thread at the bottom again, and we are going to come up on the other side right across, so it's the same distance and same height. Kind of gotta look there. And we are going to come right back down again at the bottom of our beginning stitch. And this time we are going to take our needle and we are going to go down for the length of that first stitch. That would be our second one. So there's our first stitch. We're coming down so we have the length to be able to do our next stitch. And we are going to go right back up in the bottom of that first one. And we are going to, at the same time, keeping in line with our stitch here, we're going to come at an angle, same distance out. And I think I probably should have had that a little farther down. We're going to get a little short stitch, and we're going to take that right in the bottom of our second stitch. Come up right across from it again. Same distance. See where my needle is there. We're staying at the right across from the top of our other stitch, the same distance apart. I'm going to go just a little bit farther there. And pull that all as, oh, don't get it tangled. All at once. And I did get that stitch a little bit smaller than the other one. It just takes some practice to get them consistent. And again, we're going right back down at the bottom of our straight part of the stitch. Makes it a little harder when you're working with yarn instead in a longer stitch, but you can see I should have made this a little bit longer so I would have had room to make more of a diagonal there. And this is where we are now going to come down. This time I'm going to make sure I come down far enough. That's the bottom of our next one. So we're coming back up here to make our straight line. Going to come over, cross. So we're at the same, oops, trying to stay in the camera here and I keep going the opposite direction, but staying at the same distance. You're just using this one to judge where you are coming up right there. And you're going down in the bottom of your stitch. Coming up on the other side, cross and even with the other one. And right back down. My needle keeps wanting to move. Right back down in the bottom of that stitch again. You can see I've got those stitches going farther. These are more depth in my stitch on this one over here than what I am on this one. But that's okay. And we can now in the middle of that try and make that a little longer. Coming back up here to complete our line. At the same time, we're going to bring that over. Down at the bottom. Go to the other side. Go down at the bottom. And we can swoop down to our next 9 at the same time. Kind of looks like an anchor, doesn't it? Bunch of anchors to a boat all in a line. But then we're going back up to the top. Over to the side, I'm going to go a little farther out. Coming down at the bottom again. And across from the other one. Down. That is the fern stitch. Now we're just going to come down here again. Back at the top. We're to make our diagonal part of the stitch. The bottom. Up on the other side. Down at the bottom. You can make this go curved. You can move it. Doesn't have to be in a straight line. You can follow whatever direction you want when you are doing that. Go down at the bottom again. A little bit farther, Jean. Up on the back. Going right back in at the bottom of our previous stitch. Cross from there and diagonally down. Other side. Diagonally down back to the bottom. And you can see I've got a little crooked there once in a while. That's all right. Top, over, back down to the bottom. Bring it up on the other side. Straight across. And down. And just keep repeating. And that'll be the last one that we do on this. And we'll go on to our next stitch. There you can see both lines, one that looks a little bit better and the one that's just a little bit crooked, and that's okay. You just leave them in there. That's what this is for. Practice and learn your stitches. So that is the fern stitch. And I'm going to have to thread my needle. Don't have enough thread on for our next stitch, which is going to be the pistil stitch. It's just a combination of a straight stitch with a French knot on the end. You'll see kind of like a dandelion that has dried up and it's, already lost its blooms, ready to blow those seeds on like we have always done as kids. But you will see this stitch used a lot in that type of flower when you're doing embroidery. Okay. That's knotted. So this is not a difficult stitch unless you don't like doing French knots, of course, but those just take practice and then they're easy as well. But we're going to be doing kind of like a snowflake again. And we're going to start right in the middle of our stitch. And we're going to come up. And we are going to take, and we're going to hold our thread to about the length of the stitch that we are going to be making. And we are going to wrap the thread around the end of our needle counterclockwise twice. And then you are going to put the end of your needle in where you want that length of that stitch to be. And that is where you are going to then make sure that from the distance at the bottom to the tip of your needle is correct. And you are going to pull and hold that, which I got to get my hand underneath here. Sorry. You're going to hold that just like when you do your French knot. Pull it all the way through, and you will end up with your straight stitch with your French knot right at the top. And then you'll just come up in the center again, and you're going to continue doing your lines and not getting caught and tangled on the back. We've got a little bit of a knot going on back here in our thread. That pulled out, excuse me. Hopefully we'll get it pulled out. All right, out of there. And that's when you have to have the patience to mess around and play with your, I've got a little knot in my thread. I've got to get that out because we're not going to be able to stitch with a knot in the back of our thread. And there we got it out. So that just takes patience once in a while to get that out. It happens. And again, now we're going to lay that down. We're going to bring our thread over, and I'm coming over to this stitch. So we're going to take our needle about to where the length of that stitch is that we are making. I'm going to put the end in, and you are going to make sure that this part to this part is straight and not pulled or stretched. You're going to hold that then, hold that tight just as you do when you're making a French knot. And pull it all the way through. That is another pistol stitch. So you can use this for any design that you want. We're just doing our snowflake pattern here. I'm coming down here. I'm going to wrap that twice. My needle where I want that. Hold it. So it's just combining a French knot right at the end of a straight stitch, all in one stitch. Back up at the middle again. Oops, pulled that too tight. And you want to kind of, because we're doing a lot of coming up in that middle, sometimes you're going off a little bit. And I got to turn my work to be able to do this one. Put my needle there, wrap it twice. Put it in the length there. There, now I can pull it over. Grab that and hold it. You don't ever want to let go of that or your knot will come undone. So there we just kind of have the beginning section. And we can go and start working the other diagonals. Oops, we're coming up in the middle. Forgot what I was doing there for a minute. Always working from the middle out. Just taking it to approximately where we want that stitch to be. Sticking our needle in the fabric, making sure we've got the length of that correct. See how that is right there. Folding that wraps on our needle and just pull it all the way through. Let go right when it gets to there. Back up at the middle. Other side, put our needle at approximately the length of where that stitch is. Wrap that twice. Put it down in our fabric. Hold it. Pull it gently through. And just continue coming up at the middle and going all the way around to do that. Oh, get my needle in here. And I'm just kind of working upside down on this one. Back up at the middle. Down to about the length that the stitch is going to be. You can keep those wraps. So you're keeping it loose so that you can adjust it if you don't have that quite the right length on your stitch. This out of the way so we don't get it tangled. You're just connecting it down with that French knot. But that is the pistol stitch. We'll do one more of these diagonals, and then we'll go on to our spider web rows. Just bringing it up. Bring the needle down. Holding that. Oops, it slipped out. There is how those will look. That is a stitch that can, we got a loop that we got caught back here somehow that we didn't get pulled all the way through on one of those. Move that off. That on the back. And we're going to have to thread a needle again because that is not going to be enough thread for the spider web rows. That is this stitch right here. And this works much better if you don't have quite as big a circle as what I am doing for teaching purposes. Your stitch will stay down a lot better. The reason I'm saying that is it just makes the part that is holding our stitches down, makes it farther apart, and it's not holding the thread as well as it would if that circle were on a smaller scale. But this is the spider web rose. I think I forgot to tell you the page on the last one. I keep forgetting that, but it's on the handout, the PDF that you can download. But the spider web rose is on page 54 of your handout, your handbook. And the first thing we've done is we've drawn our circle, whatever size that you want, and then you are going to make a line from the middle. You're going to have from 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Kind of doing it into a 5-section there that are going to be your lines that you're going to be weaving your thread over and under on to make that spider web rose. So we are going to come up on the outside of our circle. I think I'm going to do this middle one here. We're going to come up at the 12 o'clock position. And we are going to go down in our middle. Then we are going to come up at our 2 o'clock position. Come on. After we get all the way through there. Go down again in the middle. And we're just going to do that now all the way around. And it's going to be the part for weaving our other stitch through. That's the base for making your stitch. Make sure that I don't pull that too tight. So now you are going to start by coming up between the 12 and 2 o'clock. So you're coming up right there between the 12 and 2 o'clock position. My needle is moving there. You can see that right close to the middle, about as snug as you can get that. And then you are going to start by going over this straight stitch that you have made, and you are going to go under the next one. We're just going to pull that along. Then because you are going to go over the next one and under the other one. You're just going over, under, over, under, over, under. And when it gets to the next time, which you were over on that one, you should be going under the next time. So we're going over this one and under. We just keep weaving. Pulling your thread around as you go. Under this one. Did I do? Hang on here. I just tangled my thread. So we're going to pull that back out. There we go. Now we're going over and under. You just have to make sure that you keep going the over, under, over, under. Just going in a circular motion all the way around that. Don't pull it too tight. Over this one, under this one. Just continue doing that until you get to the outer edge of your circle, which, because these circles are big, can take a little while. You can see how you're going under that one, so you know you're going over that one, so you know you're going under this one. So you're just kind of pulling that along, bringing it in the circle, and then kind of using your thumb, holding it down, making it taut there. So we're under this one, so we're over this one, and you always want to kind of check, because if you're not the opposite from where you were before, you know that you missed a stitch and did it the wrong direction, somewhere around wrong along the line, and then it's not going to be holding your stitches down right. So always check and make sure. And see, on this previous one, I was under, I'm over now, so I know that I'm still correct on that. Just keep going around. What you're doing is weaving. That's gonna hold those stitches in place on the little 5 straight stitches that you made first. Like I said, if it was a smaller circle, it wouldn't take as long and as much thread to get all the way around here. Hold that up so you can get an idea on how that is going. See if I can hold it up here and do the actual weaving part also. Oops, don't pull it too tight there. I'm under, so I'm over, under, over. I'm under, over, under. Okay, trying to peek and look. Oops, and I'm out of your view. You're just pulling it around, keeping it down flat on there. It just keeps going and it makes that rose. Back down here to where I can hold that and work a little bit better. Pulling those taut, not tight. Might be a good idea. See, there I was just about, we're under, so that was supposed to be over, and this is under. I make sure that you're always doing that correctly. Keep weaving it. Not going to have enough thread on here to get all the way to the outside, so we'll just go as far as we can. If you do run out of thread, all you do is go to one of the sections, which that would be over. I would just go down here because I'm running out of thread, and right on the side of that, so I know that I'm ending in the over. And when I start a new thread, I would come right up where I did that one and continue on in the same order that I was. That was over, so I would be going under this next one when I add the new thread. Just gonna end that off on the back here. And I keep misplacing my scissors right by my arm. Okay. Okay. And there you can see how it forms a pretty little rose. This stitch just is supposed to be over there, but that is the spider web rose. So there are, if I move this back, I think you can't quite get the feather in there, but We started off with the feather stitch, and then we did the fern stitch. We did the pistil stitch, and we did the spider web rose this afternoon. So those are your stitches for this week. Have fun doing them and practicing them, getting them on your grid in your book. And next week on Tuesday at the same time, we will be doing the last 3 stitches out of the 28 total that you are learning for this. There's a lot more stitches than that, but those are kind of the basic ones. It's all the stitches that are in this. Yeah, I forgot I was on that. Sorry. On this book. And so turn that back around. Sorry. Forgot that I was on this camera. I was holding it up in front of the laptop there. But we'll have learned all of the stitches that are in your hand embroidery stitches at a glance book. After next week, you will have gone through them all. So I hope that those of you that are stitching along are enjoying this, are having a fun time learning the stitches, and also in learning how to do the slow stitching and making a journal out of that. So until next time, thank you, everyone. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed and you are interested in slow stitching, quilting, and that type of thing, I do all things that pertain to all types of stitchery. Hit the subscribe button and click on that bell so you'll be notified when new videos drop or when I go live. Would love to see you and share with you. So take care, everyone. Remember, until next time, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye and take care, everyone.